When we made the call to sail back to Guatemala, the plan was simple. Haul out for a month or two, tackle a few projects, and be back in the water before long. But as every sailor knows, boats have a way of rewriting your plans. What started out as one big project quickly spiraled into a full-scale overhaul when I made the bold decision to strip Xoxo's hull down to bare fiberglass.
The fiberglass is pitting and the gel coat is crazed and cracking.
Something that, in hindsight, should have been done the moment we bought her 8 years ago. Had we taken that step, maybe, just maybe, we wouldn't have found ourselves calling Mayday 80 miles offshore.
I think the crack's getting bigger!
The grueling hours of grinding are behind us, but the road to completion is still long. This job isn't finished yet, not by a long shot.
After many weeks of sanding, I finally got the first layer sanded down with the longboard. It took quite a while, and I still have at least one round to do, but I am gonna try applying it with this guy again. I've actually ground off the feet this time. That way I just have a straight edge. Because when I was using the 8-inch trawl, it was very splotchy and wasn't uniform, so it made this take much longer. I did run out of the total fair, so I'm gonna mix up my own fairing compound just using regular epoxy and a filler. And I'm actually gonna add a dye to it, that way I know that it is my second layer.
We've come to realize one of the toughest challenges of doing boat work while cruising in paradise is getting your hands on supplies. Here in Guatemala, sailing isn't exactly the way of life. Most locals prefer power boats or a dugout canoe with a paddle. And the sailboats that are here, they're usually just passing through on short-term cruising permits. But thankfully, the sailing community is strong enough to support a few local channelries. And because we ran out of the total fare, we're creating our own fairing compound using the local shipbuilding epoxy. Nothing can compare to epoxy when it comes to adhesion and protection against water. However, its effectiveness depends entirely on proper mixing. If the resin and hardener aren't combined in the exact ratio specified by the manufacturer, the epoxy won't cure correctly. And I know this firsthand from experience. I may have made this mistake one too many times. Too much hardener and it can become brittle or overheat. Too little and it might stay tacky. Even minor miscalculations can compromise the strength and durability of a repair, turning what should be a rock-solid bond into a weak, unreliable surface. Mixing it is just as important as the ratio. If the components aren't fully blended, pockets of uncured resin or hardener can form, which will cause weak spots or even complete failure of the epoxy. The best practice is to mix slowly and deliberately, scraping the sides and the bottom of the container to ensure uniformity. When it's done right, the strength and protection of epoxy is unmatched. The second try was not good. I don't like the surface layer left behind by this makeshift scraper, so the 8-incher is gonna have to do.
between the weather, which is sprinkling right now, and the sheer amount of labor that it takes to hand sand, I got this hull pretty smooth. It's definitely not perfect by any means, but the scalloping's gone and all of the pitting that was in the fiberglass is gone. It's nice and smooth. There's a little bit of waviness here and there, but I am pretty happy with it. I need to remove this rudder, hopefully for the last time. I gotta get it dropped so I can get access to the curved part where the rudder and keel meet. I need to be able to sand that and put paint on it before I permanently install the rudder. Today is paint day, finally. All the sanding is pretty much done. There are a few, it's not perfect, but it
is perfect. He has spent weeks.
Well, like a month, yeah.
Yeah, when I say weeks, I mean like weeks over months.
But it is good enough. So now we're gonna apply the Total Protect barrier coat, which is epoxy based. And first we're gonna mix that up, get it induced for 15 minutes. While it's inducing, we are gonna wipe down the hull with the de-waxer and then get some paint on.
You pressure washed it.
Yeah, I pressure washed it last night so it could dry and get the majority of all the particulates off.
And this is the only day it hasn't rained, so we have to work fast.
Apply a minimum of 2 coats. We want to use the 2-rag method when we're doing the de-waxer. 2 to 3 times.
What's 2-rag mean?
It means you have 1 dry rag and 1 soaked
Super
rag.
saturated.
Yeah. I like to triple layer gloves. That way if you get a bunch of paint on your hand that you want to grab something else with and you don't want to get paint everywhere, you just rip it off real quick and you got a fresh glove and paint doesn't get everywhere.
Welcome to Bo's Mixing Lab.
These cans have been sitting for a few months, so I gotta make sure that they get mixed pretty well before we start. So this is a nice little spade mixer on a drill. Low speed, otherwise it'll go everywhere. Oh man. Like that. Bumped it up to high gear because it thickened up a lot. Total Protect from Total Boat is a 2-part epoxy based barrier coat. It's a 3-to-1 mix ratio. Where did that screwdriver go? Here it is. We're just gonna mix up a pint, actually 2 pints, because I think that's gonna be enough, but we're kind of just guessing, to at least put 1 coat on the boat right now. We're using the mohair, these mohair rollers. They're 3/16 snap. And because they're 3/16 snap, we need to coat this
Multiple times.
up to 5 times.
5?
Yeah.
2 hours in between? It's gonna be midnight.
Well, we can stop. Oh, crap. Where's my little mixers?
Right there.
If we had a roller with a larger nap, we could get away with less coats. But since we're dealing with a thin or a small nap, then it's gonna take more. Actually, this stuff's kind of thick. So yeah, hopefully 2 pints is enough. Once I get this stirred for about 1.5 minutes, I gotta let it sit for 15 minutes to allow it to induce.
When you're applying the barrier coat, preparation is key, no matter what type of paint job you're doing. I used 80 grit sandpaper when fairing the hull, which gives it enough bite for it to hold. It took 3 passes of this de-waxer to remove all the dust from the hull.
"15 minutes are up. Gonna thin it out about 6%, which is 1 ounce. Time to paint.
An epoxy barrier coat is a crucial defense layer that protects a boat's hull from water intrusion and the devastating effects of osmotic blistering. Over time, water can seep into a boat's gel coat and into the fiberglass, leading to blisters that weaken the hull's integrity. An epoxy barrier coat acts as an impermeable shield, sealing the fiberglass and preventing moisture from penetrating the surface. This added layer not only extends the life of the hull, but also reduces maintenance costs and potentially structural repairs down the road. Beyond moisture protection, an epoxy barrier coat also creates a smooth, solid base for anti-foul paint. Without it, paint adhesion can be inconsistent, leading to premature flaking or peeling. A properly applied barrier coat enhances durability, ensuring the bottom paint sticks effectively and performs as intended. Whether restoring an old hull or safeguarding a new one, applying a high-quality barrier coat is an essential step in preserving a boat's longevity and seaworthiness.
Yesterday, Brandy and I got many coats of the epoxy barrier coat on, and I had to actually finish up, get one last coat on today, this morning. But now that's all done, and we need to tape up the waterline. When I took this hull down to fiberglass, I was a little too hasteful and I didn't measure where the waterline is. We're not gonna do any measurements. We're just gonna go off of where our original waterline was just below one of the scuppers, one of the drain holes, through hole drains out of the hull. And we're gonna use that as our guide. And just eyeball it. The way we're gonna do it is pick a spot at the nose and then drag the tape all the way to the back end of the boat and just walk towards the boat and make sure it sticks straight.
Nice, yeah. It's about the gradient that I had previously measured, so
We're good.
we nailed it.
Time. Getting at least one bottom coat paint on.
Yeah. Hopefully we can get it on before the rain's supposed to come. Mad dash here in the Rio.
We're using the Total Boat Spartan multi-season ablative anti-foul.
See any runs? Evan's acting as my foreman. Making sure I'm doing a good job.
Yeah, oh, there's a little run right there.
Oh no, it's just a run from previous.
No, it's an old run. You guys don't pay me enough.
Man, this stuff drives me away.
You're just trying to get away from your boat work. You want to watch us do our boat work. You're doing a great job.
So good.
Oh shoot.
Not supposed to rain tomorrow, right?
Work complete.
Oh.
Oh. Looks like she already has a boot start.
Yeah.
The reason we painted the bottom of the boat before we painted the freeboard is because of a little bit of boatyard logistics. Their trailer that lifts up the boats is going to be down for about a month, and we don't want to wait that long to have to lift up the boat and finish up the surfaces where the boat's resting on the boards. So we want to get that done and out of the way. That way we're not twiddling our thumbs waiting on the lift to get maintenanced. Before the lift gets here tomorrow, I'm gonna install the rudder. I cut and fit a new key for the shaft quadrant.
Just test fitting this just to make sure it all fits snug before I get this rudder put back into place. Yeah, looks good.
Michael, how's it going, man? You need a hand? Sure. I'm gonna lift this up if you can just scoop the blocks underneath it.
Like here?
Underneath this guy, they might be a little too high. Might have to kick one off.
So it's going up here?
Yeah, it might be a little high, so you might have to kick that one off.
Okay.
So with the packing seal, you want to, because it's going to be compressed from the top, you actually want to cut it from the side. That way when it compresses down, then it compresses these two pieces together. Instead of, if you cut it on top, when you compress it down, if you were to compress it down from this angle, it would have more of a tendency to split open. This way it actually creates more of a seal. Before I seal this all together, I need to clean this out, clean this up, and then I'm gonna goop it up with some 4200.
Getting the rudder shoe back into place was quite the challenge. When I dry fit tested it, everything lined up, but adding the 4200 threw it a little out of alignment. Brandy and I had to get a little creative to line up the bolt holes.
Yes, it's going.
The bouncing helps.
Bouncing helps. All right. We did it.
What a pain.
This is never coming off. over again. Yay, the rudder's back on finally. Tomorrow they're gonna come and move us so I can get access to these spots that the boat's resting on.
You finished just in time. That looks gross.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go shower now.
Thanks for your help.
Welcome.
That would have been impossible without you. Alright, the last thing for getting the rudder in is putting the stuffing material back in this rudder port. I do need Brandy's help because it's such a tight fit that the rudder post isn't allowing this material to go down easily. So she's gonna put a little bit of pressure on the post to be able to allow me to get this down in there.
Go ahead. Try to use this guy. What's that, hun?
What's that do?
It keeps the water out. It's like a flax material, like a waxy, ropey material.
And you need something that won't compress, because like butyl tape.
Yeah, butyl tape won't work. I wonder if 3 will be too much. I think 3 will be too much. 2 should be plenty. Sweet, thanks.
With the rudder back into place, we're ready for the lift.
The yard manager mentioned that the hull didn't flex as much as when you first lifted us up on the lift. And that's probably because we laid down that epoxy fairing compound and the epoxy-based barrier coat. So we made the hull stronger without even trying. All right, she's set. Now more work.
Final stages of painting, at least the bottom.
Gotta pressure wash real quick, and then we'll be able to get the barrier coat on. Been 15 minutes. Time to put this stuff down.
One coat down, many more to go. Yesterday we got all of the epoxy barrier coat down, and today we're gonna be putting down any foul. So hopefully I can get all of it laid up today. I'm gonna do the blue, then the black, and we have a whole can of black, so I'm actually gonna just do the other side of the boat, because when we did the blue, we actually had enough to do 2.5 layers. So this black will be the other half of the layer on the other side.
One project down, just like our mast. Again. We'll explain why in another video. Thanks for watching. If you want to help with the production of these videos, or get real-time and exclusive content, become a patron.